Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 11th of November. Brothers kill mother and sisters for honor in Pakistan's eastern Punjab. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins 10-day three-nation tour. And burning of books, wrong way to protest, says best-selling author Dan Brown. And now for all the details, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi began his 10-day three-nation tour on Tuesday as he arrived in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw. He is scheduled to attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN and East Asia summits along with a number of bilateral meetings with various country heads.
Taking his government's policy of greater engagement with Southeast Asian countries ahead, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to meet the ASEAN leaders. The Indian Prime Minister met President Thein Sein and opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi in the capital. He is also scheduled to meet Chinese Premier Li Keqiang on the sidelines of the summit. During his first meeting with the regional group, Prime Minister Modi is expected to call for greater connectivity and trade ties with East Asia. India had entered into a free trade agreement with the 10-member ASEAN nations in 2009 to allow greater flow of business between the member nations. The two-way trade between India and ASEAN that stood at $79 billion in 2012 is expected to reach $125 billion by 2016. After completing his ASEAN tour, Prime Minister Modi will fly to Australia and then Fiji for the last leg of his visit.
In yet another brutal incident of honor killing in Pakistan, two brothers killed their mother and sisters, alleging immoral acts. The accused were arrested by the police after committing the crime.
Eastern city of Lahore woke up to the news of the horrendous act of violence on Tuesday. The brothers Shehzad and Asif reportedly used a dagger to kill their mother Sugra Bibi and their teenage stepsisters Muqaddas and Amna in the name of honor a night before. According to the police, the incident happened as the brothers did not trust the women and accused them of bad character and for indulging in wrong activities. The killers who confessed to the crime pleaded guilty and accused the women for igniting them to commit the murder.
घर से भाग चुके थे। एक महीना पूरा वो घर से जवान दो बच्चियां लेके घर से बाहर रहते हैं। कोई भी जवान भाई है वो बर्दाश्त नहीं करता।
बात इज्जत पे जब आ जाती है ना तो कोई भी इंसान है वो टलता नहीं है, वो मार देता है। हमने भी मार दिया।
Monday's incident comes 2 days after a newly-wed couple in the northeastern Punjab province was murdered by the bride's family for marrying against their wishes. Angered by her decision to marry for love, the family members of 25-year-old pregnant Farzana Parveen stoned her to death outside a Lahore court in May.
Bangladesh Attorney General has warned family members of war criminal Mohammad Kamaruzzaman of contempt case against them. This comes after the Islamist leader's son criticized the Supreme Court order of upholding his death penalty for involvement in committing war crimes.
Attorney General of Bangladesh Mehboob Alam has criticized the statement by Mohammad Kamaruzzaman's son Hassan Iqbal against the country's apex court. Alam on Monday said Iqbal could face contempt of court charges for rejecting the judgment given by the court last week. Iqbal garnered controversy while making an appeal to the Supreme Court to review Kamaruzzaman's death sentence. He had claimed that his father was never involved in any war crimes and the court judgment was wrong.
আমার বাবা জনাব কামারুজ্জামান সোহাগপুর সহ কোনো হত্যাকাণ্ডের সাথে কখনোই জড়িত ছিলেন না। রাজনৈতিক কারণে ষড়যন্ত্রমূলকভাবে তাকে এই মামলায় জড়ানো হয়েছে। তিনি সম্পূর্ণ নির্দোষ। অন্ত্র মামলায় আনিত অভিযোগের সাথে তার দ্রুততম সম্পর্ক নেই। আমরা আশা করি বাংলাদেশ সুপ্রিম কোর্টের আপিল বিভাগ এই রায় পুনর্বিবেচনা করে আমার বাবা মোহাম্মদ কামারুজ্জামানকে বেকসুর খালাস দিয়ে ন্যায় বিচার প্রতিষ্ঠা করবেন।
Kamaruzzaman is the Assistant Secretary General of the Jamaat and one of the chief organizers of the Al-Badr force, which was behind the murder of hundreds of people in 1971. He was awarded death penalty last year by the International War Crimes Tribunal. The Dhaka Central Jail is preparing to carry out the sentence and Kamaruzzaman could be hanged any time after the copy of the judgment is handed over to jail authorities.
Robin Raphael, the former US diplomat now facing FBI probe for alleged espionage for merely executing the official policy of Washington, analysts have said. They also rejected allegations of her being a spy for Pakistan.
Former State Department diplomat Robin Raffel, who is under the scanner for allegations including taking home classified information, is being probed under counterintelligence, which refers to spying, media reports in the US said. Raffel, who was instrumental in Washington's policy in South Asia, was seen in India as being completely anti-India. However, many said she was only carrying out the agenda of US in the region.
During most of her career, with respect to India and Pakistan, she was executing state policy. So even the things that she said that were most inflammatory to Indian sentiments, she wasn't operating as a lone ranger or a rogue operator. And in fact, the Clinton administration clarified that while she may have delivered it in a way that was perhaps not diplomatic, what she said about Kashmir and U.S. policy was not wrong.
Fair also rejected allegations that Raffel was the brain behind the creation of Kashmiri separatist group, the Hurriyat Conference.
That she invented the Hurriyat Council. That's nonsense. The ISI invented the Hurriyat Council.
Many also said that there was an effort to project her as a friend of Pakistan.
An inquiry is a usual process as well, you know. It's nothing extraordinary, but the Indian press and Indian media in general have picked it up and turned it into a kind of a whole narrative where Robin is being viewed as this friend of Pakistan versus an enemy of India, or a sympathizer of the Kashmir cause versus the Indian nationalism.
Raffel, who was once a lobbyist for Pakistan as well, was working for the State Department before the investigations began. Her contract, which was up for renewal, was revoked after allegations emerged against her.
The 5 Indian fishermen on death row in Sri Lanka will soon be transferred to India, the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party has claimed. The decision came after Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took up the issue with Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The Indian High Commission in Colombo on Monday said it has officially received the copy of last week's judgment by a Sri Lankan court that sentenced 5 Tamil fishermen to death for alleged drug smuggling. India's Foreign Ministry said it is making all efforts to ensure the return of its citizens at the earliest.
The Indian High Commission has approached some of the best legal brains in Sri Lanka to have a look at it, and they're examining what would be the best avenue to proceed to ensure that those 5 Indian nationals who are fishermen and against whom a judgment has been decreed can be brought back home safely.
The federal ruling Bharatiya Janata Party said Sri Lanka has agreed to transfer the 5 fishermen to India as per the agreement between the two countries signed in the year 2010. The 5 Tamil fishermen were arrested in October 2011 by the Sri Lankan Navy for allegedly smuggling contraband into the country. India and Sri Lanka share the maritime boundary in the Indian Ocean between the Palk Strait and the Gulf of Mannar. The issue of fishermen crossing over for fishing in the other countries' waters and their subsequent detentions has long been a standing issue between New Delhi and Colombo.
The Indian hockey team returned to a happy welcome back home after a stunning performance at the bilateral series against Australia. Take a look.
The men's hockey team got a warm receiving as it arrived in capital New Delhi on Tuesday. The Indian squad registered a historic win against Australia on Sunday. Team's captain Sardar Singh, who completed 200 international matches after the Test series, is now eyeing the Olympics.
काफ़ी अच्छा लग रहा है और फिलहाल अगर मैं वही बोलता हूँ कि ये सीरीज़ हमारे लिए अपने आप को इम्प्रूव करने के लिए थी और काफ़ी कुछ सीखने को मिला, अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा और उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आने वाले टाइम में बिफोर ओलंपिक हम ऐसे जो वर्ल्ड की बेस्ट टीम है उनके साथ ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मैचेस खेलें और अपने आप को इम्प्रूव करें.
The Indian men's hockey team defeated world champions Australia 3-1 to win their 3rd successive match and clinch the 4-match Test series at the Perth Hockey Stadium. India will next play in the upcoming Hockey Champions Trophy against Germany starting next month. India had also bagged the gold at the recent 17th Asian Games 2014 held in South Korea after defeating Pakistan.
Burning of books is not the way to protest, author Dan Brown has said. The celebrated American writer was in Indian capital New Delhi for a literary fest.
Dan Brown condemned the increasing tendency across the world to burn books as a mark of protesting their contents. Brown said there are other ways to express the disagreement with the author or the book than putting it to flames.
I think people who burn books do so because they don't have an intelligent response. I think a far more productive way to disagree with something, whether it's my book or really any book, is to come up with an alternative and either write your own book or state it publicly.
One of the most influential fiction writers of his time, Brown is in India for the 8th edition of the annual Penguin Lecture. Regarded as one of the most prestigious cultural events of the year, the annual lecture series features some of the world's most respected leaders, thinkers and writers. Recalling his popularity among the readers, Brown said he writes what he thinks and is making sense.
As an author, I need to decide what makes sense to me, personally, and put it out there and say, well, this is the way I see it. If you agree, great. If you disagree, you can write me a nasty letter or write your own book or whatever you want to do. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything, but it is very difficult, the research process, to figure out what to believe and what not to believe. There's a lot of contradictory information.
Brown, who is known for his controversial writings, has penned bestsellers including Angels and Demons and The Da Vinci Code, with many being adapted into Hollywood movies too. Brown is currently working on a new book as well as the Columbia Pictures film version of his most recent novel, The Lost Symbol.
He is the epitome of dance, drama and comedy, and he is set to make a comeback on the silver screen. Will his co-actors be able to match steps with him? Take a look.
The coming weekend is set to hold enough excitement for the fans of actor Govinda. After a hiatus of 5 years, the iconic star returns to the big screen with the much-awaited film Kill Dil. The 50-year-old actor left the audience asking for more at a musical promotional in entertainment capital Mumbai. Co-stars Ranveer Singh and Ali Zafar also shook a leg with Govinda, who has stood in Bollywood with his distinctive style of dancing. Leading lady Parineeti Chopra also joined in. The cast was in awe of sharing screen space with Govinda. Actor-turned-politician Govinda, on his side, thanked the filmmakers for convincing him to take up a film project again.
I would like to thank Tushad. धन्यवाद दूंगा आदि का. वर्षानुवर्ष हो गए, कई फिल्मों में हमने काम किया, परंतु ऐसा योग नहीं हुआ कि यशराज फिल्म में काम कर पाऊँ. ऐसा 28-29 साल बाद ये ऐसा समय आया.
Govinda, who ruled Bollywood with his blockbuster comedies in the 1990s, dons grey shades in Kill Dil. Chopra said her fans will love the film for its different plot.
किल दिल में मैंने बहुत कुछ नया किया है जो मैंने पहले नहीं किया है. वेदर इट्स माई लुक, वेदर इट्स माई बॉडी लैंग्वेज, वो मैंने सब नई ट्राई करी है. अगर वो सबको अच्छी लग गई एंड इफ आई हैव डन अ गुड जॉब, देन आई होप आई विन अवार्ड्स बिकॉज इट्स वेरी मोटिवेटिंग.
Kill Dil revolves around two assassins, Dev and Tutu. Abandoned when young and vulnerable, Bhaiyaji gave them shelter and nurtured them to kill. All was normal in their lives until destiny throws free-spirited Disha into the mix. After Bhaiyaji does not accept the relationship between Dev and Disha, begins a game of defiance, deception and love. The film also stars Kader Khan and Rocky Verma.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Brothers kill mother and sisters for honour in Pakistan's eastern Punjab. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins 10-day three-nation tour. And burning of books, wrong way to protest, says best-selling author Dan Brown. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.